Oh,
you can keep going. That's fine.
okay.
The best part of waking up is listening to Running Out the Clock. That rhymed. That rhymed, right?
Yeah, that was it.
I think that rhymed. Welcome to Running Out the Clock. That was the signal, so we had to jump into this episode now. Whether or not we're prepared, spoiler alert, we are. We are actually prepared. We've been sitting here getting ready for a few minutes. So good on us this one time. This is it. I'm your friend Joseph Craven. I'm joined by Keith Harkins. Hello, Keith.
Hello.
I'm joined by Crambles Johnson. Hello, Crambles.
Hey there.
And of course, we're joined by no one else. It is crazy to me how far into the college football season we are at this point. Like, this is legitimately heading into week 12. Is that right? Is that honestly right?
Like, everyone has 3 more games left, and it's weird because it feels like we just started.
It's very strange. Another thing that's super weird is that I was just going through earlier today and updating the show notes, the outline and the predictions that we keep up with and everything. And, I've been overwriting the spreadsheet we used last year as well. And at this point last season, there were seriously 12 different games because we were hitting the point in the season in which all these teams had all of their homecoming nobody opponents. It all happened this week. And this week there's, I think 6 games in the SEC. So
they're all here. No more bye weeks.
Yeah, this is it. No more. It's kind of bizarre. It's kind of been a weird year and everything, but
except Florida has another bye week for some reason. They got 3 this year. It's stupid.
Because of week 0, man.
Just the game that everybody wants to forget.
I'll be honest with you. I did forget it.
Mm.
I can't remember what was going on. All right. We need to, I guess, start off this episode the way that we always start off an episode. And that is by talking about the Noles just a little bit. Of course, we took off of last week. And I'm sorry, I'm getting a real bad echo. Is somebody... I can hear myself very clearly. Is somebody not have headphones on or something?
Nope.
It's super weird.
I mean, I've headphones on.
Yeah, I can see that. I can't tell. But I mean, I can hear myself very clearly.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
maybe
right.
Maybe you need to listen to the voice inside your head.
No, this voice is very much outside my head. It's coming from one of you, and it sounds just like me, and it's saying everything that I'm saying. And that's what's weird about it.
In your head.
All right, well.
I thought you were making a Randy Orton reference. That's my fault.
Also thought about going there, but I no longer watch WWE, so...
This dude is exclusively watching reruns of WCW, NWO type stuff.
AEW, baby.
Dude,
right.
All Elite.
They should actually air those in chronological order and just act like it's brand new.
WCW Classic. All right, well, We'll jump back into it then. And I'll just, ignore the fact that I can hear myself and neither of you want to do anything about it. Just won't help me out at all.
If you could tell me what to do about
it.
Make sure that I'm not turned up super loud or that I'm not coming through another audio source other than your headphones.
Yeah, I don't have another audio source.
Only coming through my headphones. So
all right, well, that's what we'll deal with. All right, we'll jump back into it then. So we start off every episode the same way. That's by talking about the Noles. And of course, we ourselves took a bye week last week. And just, kind of recovering from what has been a grueling season so far here on the podcast, But in the process, we missed some big news. And that, of course, being that Florida State went ahead, shelled out the big bucks to ditch Willie Taggart.
Bum, 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 bum. Except he's like super happy, probably.
Yeah, he got out of the terrible situation he found himself in.
Yeah, and drove a Ferrari full of gold bricks all the way to the bank.
So, would anyone like to say a quick word of goodbye to Willie Taggart before we continue? Because we're gonna talk more about. We're gonna play a little game in a little bit here involving this move. So I don't want to dwell on it too much. But would anyone like to say a quick word?
Deion Sanders, come on down. Ba, 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 ba.
There's a lot of Price is Right music being played on this episode tonight.
I
We
will
are
say
a Price is Right fan account.
We are.
I will say that I would like. I hope the best for Cam Akers. I really do. But the Jimbo Fisher's recruiting pitch to him was that if he went to Ole Miss, he wasn't gonna know like who his coach was or all this NCAA stuff, and he will have finished his career with 3 different head coaches at Florida State. So,
Do you think he sticks around for another year? I don't think he does.
I mean,
I think he goes ahead and cuts and runs this season.
yeah, I mean, I guess he's probably been productive enough for somebody to take a shot at him, but I don't know. I really do. I hate it for him. I mean, he's a great talent, and just because of the just crap show of what was going on down there, kind of lost out on it. But bummer for him.
Yeah, like not only did Jimbo Fisher leave, but he left him with no offensive lineman to help him out.
Yeah.
Or quarterback.
Yep.
Or anything else.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm trying to see.
Like, what's interesting is that like Florida State was bad last year, and I know that like the year started out it started out real bad this year, but like they were getting better, and like I don't think that you could look at the way Jimbo Fisher left the program and think that it's anything less than a 3 or 4 year rebuild.
Right.
But
well, and we'll get into it later, but it all depends on whether they make the right hire or not. I mean, that the wrong hire kind of keeps them in this purgatory, and the right hire, they're 2 years they're back, playing well again. So
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just it's such a mess right now. I just wonder if it's going to be a longer than 2 year type of thing to have to deal with.
Like they're dangerously close to just becoming Miami.
And one of the issues here being that they also have had a huge amount of turnaround, like the athletic director leaving, like lack of institutional stability, not just from an athletic standpoint, not just from coaches, but from the AD, like school president, all of that sort of stuff over the past couple of years that has kind of dug them into a deeper pit, kind of resembling a situation like what happened kind of with like USC, for a while in there, really struggling to find relevance again after being a powerhouse team because of so much instability across the board. That's kind of happening at Florida State right now as well. And that's one of the things that might play into that. But I think Akers goes ahead and cuts and runs because he's probably got enough talent and enough productivity. At least this season, he's already over 1,000 yards, got 13 rushing touchdowns. So I feel like he's done enough here where somebody in the NFL will go, yeah, we can take this dude 3rd, 4th round, which is a good spot for most running backs, and go ahead and start that professional career going.
Or do you enter the transfer portal, and go to a school that will really use you heavily in the run game with an established offensive line and bump your draft stock to get that, possible 1st round status and get that signing bonus?
No.
I think only because the running back position just does not get selected in the first round as much.
Yeah, it's not really much of a thing anymore.
Yeah. Like unless you are like Zeke Elliott, and which at the time even picking Ezekiel Elliott in the first round was criticized by the Cowboys because people are like, "Wow, do you really want to trade up to get somebody like that?" But I mean, unless you're just a clear cut, like this is a guy that's an automatic fit for your offense, exactly what you want type of thing. Most running backs aren't really going to get picked. I mean, I'm looking at mock drafts right here, and like Jonathan Taylor and DeAndre Swift, who I think are considered to be the top running back prospects in this upcoming class, aren't really projected to be higher than second-round picks.
Wow.
Travis Etienne as well, J.K. Dobbins.
It's just not a running back league.
No, because most teams do a by committee type of thing, you know, that most teams are going to be looking for, okay, we need at least 2 running backs that we know we can count on to share a bulk of a load. Even a team that's very running back heavy, like the Cowboys are probably the example of a team that is like the most one running back heavy. But when you get to like the New Orleans Saints with Alvin Kamara, he missed time and they had gone out and picked up Latavius Murray, who did very well. So who knows? This has been an interesting digression for the podcast to get into, but I like it. I like NFL running back philosophy. So let's go ahead. Okay, the other opening segment we always like to do is, of course, the segment where we give some credit across the world of sports that maybe for people that aren't getting enough credit or something like that. Gentlemen, I open the floor up here. Does anyone have any nominees that they would like to mention for this particular category?
I do have one. I'm pulling up his numbers right now. And again, like this is sort of throwing shade, but it is also giving credit. Like, how about Ty Story transferring away from Arkansas to Western Kentucky to come back and lead Western Kentucky with 22 for 32 for 213 yards and a touchdown, and then 17 carries for 77 yards and 2 touchdowns, and the guy who Chad Morris said was not good enough to play quarterback for him, being the guy that put the nail in his coffin to get him fired the next day.
Yeah,
like that's the mid-major quarterback doing that against an SEC school was pretty cool in and of itself. But for him to kind of be vindicated with that level of success is pretty incredible.
Yeah, for
You're
sure.
You're using the terms SEC and school very loosely.
Very loosely.
Yeah, you ask my mom, she is never going to admit that Arkansas is even in the conference. Keith, you got anybody you want to nominate?
I have several somebodies.
Ooh, okay.
And
well,
this is
fast.
Yeah. The entire Arkansas,
the
entire Arkansas fan base were suffering through like 7 years of terrible coaching.
Yeah,
including Burt.
Let's do the math here. Let's do.
Yeah, no, but like seriously, like it's rough to watch your team basically win 2 games a year for 2 years and still have any passion left. But they, still came out and supported. So good for them.
Man, and shout out to 2012 interim head coach John Smith. I just happened to pull up. I was trying to see who it was. Chad Morris the past 2 years. Burt was there for 5 years. I sometimes forget that he was actually there for 5 whole years. And then it's just like 2012. They went 4-8 with John Smith after Bobby Petrino pulled the Bobby Petrino of all Bobby Petrinos. So, yeah, that's true. It's difficult. So, shout out to the Arkansas fans for surviving, I guess. I mean, what are you even doing? Yeah.
Hashtag Survivor. Yep.
Survivor. Cool. I won't dwell on it, but I obviously want to give a big sports shout out to the team that I'm wearing the jersey of right now, Liverpool Football Club, on pace to win their first English Premier League title only through 12 matches so far, but on pace to win their first title in 30 years, history in the making. And I'm here for it. All right. We're going to play a little game to open things up here. And we are going to we're going to look at, okay, we have two coaching positions that have opened up, obviously, Florida State and Arkansas. We're going to play a little game here where we try to come up with what we think are the best ridiculous coaching scenarios that can happen for both of these teams. All right.
Are we going best or most ridiculous?
Both.
I find best and most ridiculous to be one and the same, personally.
They're married together.
Yeah. Common law marriage, but still, we recognize it here on the podcast. Yeah, so and what sparks this, of course, is the stuff that, I mean, Keith already mentioned it, the rumors that Florida State needs to go after Deion Sanders. Of course, in the basketball ranks, the fact that Memphis went after Memphis legend Penny Hardaway. Penny, of course, had actually been coaching, so it made more sense.
And it has already predictably blown up in their faces.
Right, yeah.
Whatever plays out with this James Wiseman thing is going to be incredible.
It's going to be great.
But not even a little bit surprising.
And so with that, of course, then there's kind of this push, a trend push right now for people's like hot takes to be, oh, let's bring in this playing legend from years ago. And try to give them a coaching spot and see if they will be able to do anything with it, whether they'll be able to motivate the team, because like Deion doesn't have coaching experience. Penny at least had some coaching experience.
I think Deion coached at like a private school in Florida for a couple of years.
No, he opened a private school in Florida that got shut down for being a diploma mill.
Thumbs up to Deion.
Sure, but he coached there. Technically experienced.
So off of the piggybacking off of that, we're trying to think of what would be the best scenarios possible for these two teams. Does anyone have any ideas that they'd like to open the floor with?
I mean, yeah, like I'm all aboard Deion going back to Florida State to coach.
Okay, but how would that be a great scenario? Defend your answer, sir.
It'd be hilarious, and it would be catastrophic for them. And as a Florida fan, I would sip tea for 3 or 4 years.
How long? I think that if they went after Deion, they would sign him to a 10-year contract. I think that's exactly what would and should happen. I think they should sign him to a 10-year contract. And then because of the amount of money that they've paid to Willie Taggart, they need to honor as many years as possible.
They just can't fire him
and just be stuck with it. Never be able to fire him.
Because they're still paying Willie in 2023.
Yeah, I think that would be ideal for Florida State. That's not bad. It's not bad. It's a good starting point.
Yeah.
Chandler, you have anything that could top that off the top of your head right now?
I mean, yeah. I mean, if we're going just ridiculous, then no. Yes. I mean, like Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders would be a disaster, and it would be great. And I think
hold on for a second. Keith's Googling something. We need to give him a chance to finish typing.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you just slapping the keyboard or something? I don't.
Hey, hold on a second, guys. Hold on a second. I need to fact check something.
Is that not how you guys type? I don't listen. When I went to the Mavis Beacon School of Typing, this is how I was taught to type.
Do you know
forceful?
Do you know how disappointed I was to find out that Mavis Beacon is not a real person? I was sitting here thinking that my whole life, you know what, Mavis Beacon to Florida State, why not? But I was just sitting here my whole life thinking that Mavis Beacon was this epic typesetter or something who had developed this new system of typing and had a No, it was made up. Yep. Not a real person.
You were thinking that Mavis Beacon was something on the lines of Webster who put together the dictionary type of thing. Like there was
Right.
this, yeah, exactly. No, I was more devastated by finding out when I was very young that Reader Rabbit wasn't a real rabbit. It was just a computer program as well. That was. Did you guys
feel like
experience
that's the same thing, but
that's just me?
Yeah, no, that was the brother of Jessica Rabbit.
Yeah, exactly. And turns out neither of them are real.
Yeah, or
So-
rabbits.
Yeah. No, Reader Rabbit definitely was. Well, I'm going to throw something out there for Florida State. All right. I'm going to throw this out here. And this is, I think, would actually be a very, very interesting Florida State coaching decision. It's not going to be as glamorous, all right, as old Dion, obviously. But he actually has coaching experience in the high school ranks. But I think Florida State maybe should be considering something more along the lines of bringing up Florida State legend Charlie Ward as a coach.
Mm.
Why not?
Heisman Trophy winner, New York Nick. I think he's like currently a teacher slash high school coach, something like that in Florida. I know this because one of my friends from college went on to coach basketball at the same school as Charlie Ward, was coaching football in high school. So like they became good friends and stuff. And I just kind of feel like I don't know, maybe Charlie Ward would be a good fit for this sort of thing. If we're going with Neon Dion, right? Prime time. Why not go with someone who seems like a much more sensible human being?
maybe Charlie Ward as like an offensive coordinator.
Ooh, okay. All right.
You know
I'm
what?
liking that.
Charlie Ward is the AD. Deion Sanders head coach.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if that's
Sure.
solving the issues, but sure, yeah.
I feel like it's getting worse, and that's the goal.
That 100% is the goal.
So
I don't know. I kind of like that. Make Dion the face of the program and Charlie the actual brains. A 1-2 punch of Dion and Charlie.
Because if we know one thing about Deion Sanders, he is definitely all face.
all
Hey,
face.
And a beautiful face.
the face is very important, man. That's 1/4 of the A team is the face.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just saying. Okay, let's move on to Arkansas then. If we're working on this same train of thought, surely we can come up with something good. And I'm going to go ahead and start the bidding on dumb scenarios, ridiculous scenarios for Arkansas. I'm going to start the bidding very simple. I mentioned this in the group text earlier, but they should just bring back Houston Dale Nutt. Houston Nutt back to Arkansas.
That is
save-
jumping way up there.
To save his good name and to save the program.
I'm just gonna say this. Who was the last Arkansas coach to take them to an SEC championship game?
Is that it? Was it Houston? Was it
It
Houston
was,
Nutt?
it was Houston Nutt.
Oh, okay, all right, cool. I couldn't remember if Petrino got him there. I didn't think he did, obviously. But I just
that year the Petrino had him like 11-2 was like one of those first years that
that's when Bama was.
one
Bama.
of those first years that Bama started really getting it rolling.
That's right. Yeah. So I mean, I'm just saying, Houston Nutt back to Arkansas.
Proven, successful at the school, totally not a lunatic.
Right. Yeah.
Should definitely hire him back.
Surely he's beloved by the fan base.
There actually is some Twitter heat to go get him and bring him back. And a lot of the reasoning is because of the reasons that we're saying.
Yeah.
But I have a humble suggestion that that I actually have one scenario that makes perfect sense, and then another scenario that I want to see happen. And that thing that I want to see happen is one Hugh Freeze in Fayetteville.
I mean, Arkansas coaching legend.
Because he's coached in Arkansas. Like Arkansas is weirdly big on the Arkansas connections, That doesn't make any sense, but they are. and he's had some success. Like they could go and hire a coach that beat Alabama, which they need to do. You just got to hand it to him. He gets the job done, and really just can kind of massage his way out of a tense situation. And I think it's just a really good fit for everybody involved. So you know what?
It has all the makings of everyone having a happy ending.
Just the happiest ending. Just the happiest ending, and
I'm gonna kick us both off the podcast. Actually,
we
I'll
deserve
finish this
it.
one out.
it's the Keith show from here on out.
That's what Hugh said. Sorry.
As long as he gets off the airplane in like the protective glass Pope mobile,
Yes.
I'm good for it.
Absolutely. No, I love that. I mean, he. What did he say? What's the term? Did he cut his teeth? Is that right? Cut his teeth? Is that what the term people use? I've never used the term.
I was gonna go with nobody can hold his junk like Jesus can, or something like that.
Right. Yeah, that's where I was going with it too.
Yeah.
Because he said that out loud in front of people.
I think Northwest Arkansas is gonna buy the whole Jesus's coach act again.
Mm-hmm.
I think they would buy it. I think they would eat it up. I think Ole Miss people would buy it again, and it makes me so sad that they would. But
I don't know. I was at some
What if we get into a bidding war?
I was at a house yesterday watching football with a bunch of crazy old people, and a bunch of them were Ole Miss fans, and they could not have spoken more poorly about Hugh Freeze. It might still be a little bit too bitter for that to happen yet. You see, I think you look at Mac Brown going back to North Carolina, right? Mm-hmm. Because he coached there before, and returned to it. Who else? I feel like there's some other people that went back.
Dan Mullen going back to Florida.
Okay, sure, that too. But I think
not the same.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still kind of the same. We'll kind of make it count just because
he was employed by the school at one point and then came back to be employed by the school again.
Right. Just because I can't think of the other example I was going to bring up, we'll say Dan Mullen. But I mean, there's examples of that coming back, coaches coming back, and it working out okay. Why not Houston Nutt to Arkansas? Why not Hugh Freeze returning to the state of Arkansas after getting his start at Arkansas State? I mean, why not?
You know what would be awesome? I can't believe I'm just thinking about this. Go and get Houston Dale to be the new head coach.
Yeah.
And then reminiscent of that time that Houston Nutt sued Ole Miss over all the lies that he said Hugh Freeze told about him.
Yeah.
Let's just make Hugh Freeze his offensive coordinator.
Right.
And then just put a camera in their meeting room and just see how it goes.
HBO will fully fund HBO or Netflix or somebody will fully fund this project.
It would be Celebrity Deathmatch all over again.
Yeah. They will 100% fully fund that project just to be able, they will pay the school the entirety of the coaching contracts. They'll pay the salaries just to get the rights to put that on the air. I love it.
It's going to be great. It needs to happen.
It's going to be so good. It's going to be so good. If we're talking about strictly players, I'd love to see Darren McFadden step into a coaching role at Arkansas.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was one of the most electric college football players I ever watched. I'd like to see him come in and rejuvenate the forgotten art of the Wildcat offense, because it doesn't work these days.
Yeah. I mean, that would be the only thing stopping Houston Nutt from coming back in and taking them back to Atlanta.
Look,
drafting at least one, but potentially two generational type of running backs. Yeah. And then using them incorrectly.
Yeah.
Don't talk bad about the Wildcat offense, because Ole Miss is running it exclusively now, and it is not working. So
I feel like you're
You know.
backing up Joseph's point. If I may
I
throw one suggestion at you
You can.
guys, what if Mike Leach?
Oh, Mike Leach everywhere.
Yeah.
So outside of the fact that the world needs more exposure to Mike Leach, and anytime he's in the headlines, such as changing jobs or locking, students in closets, whatever he has to do to make the headlines, we need more of it because he talks about the most nonsensical stuff. But like reasons why it makes sense is because he would go to I feel like he would definitely go to an SEC school because it just means more.
It does.
Also, he's got.
Thank you for saying.
Yeah, I have to remind you guys sometimes. He also has a history in Texas recruiting from his time at Texas Tech.
And Arkansas is, of course, northeast East Texas.
Yep, it is unannexed, unincorporated, territory of Texas. It just makes sense to soothe his ego to come in and take a program that is at the very bottom of the dumpster and get it to a respectable 7-8 win team scoring 100 points a game.
I mean, Leach and his mentor, Mr. Hal Mummy,
Hal.
they have a lot in common. They really enjoy going places where they can just kind of do it.
Just to mad scientist.
Yeah. And right now, Chad Morris was trying to transition to a modern offense with Arkansas. If they really want to modernize the offense, Mike Leach or Hal Mummy. Bring in Hal Mummy. Why not?
just Mike Leach head coach and Hal Mummy OC. Yeah. Just flip the script.
Match made in heaven.
Yep.
Match made in purgatory. We'll say purgatory.
Yeah, no, match made in the plains of Arkansas.
Match made somewhere.
Match made somewhere.
Ew.
All right. So moving forward with that, we of course do need to pause for a moment and express our deepest sympathies now that we've gotten past addressing the issues with the state of the program. We do need to address the fact that at this point in time, Arkansas itself lies in shambles. The Arkansas football program has gone without a conference win in years. The Arkansas football program has gone without a 500 season in years. It is safe to say that the Arkansas football program has passed away. I feel like we actually did a eulogy for Arkansas last season. So in light of doing a eulogy right now, I think we need to do one of those Sarah McLachlan backed, rescue animal commercials here and try to get somebody to give money now and save a Razorback in need.
See, and that's perfect because I was gonna make the analogy that this was like when you have an old dog and that dog, his hips are bad, his eyesight is going, he doesn't hear so well, and you just kind of know it's time,
Yeah.
and you take him to the vet, and then you come back and you tell the kids that, sorry, sweeties, but old Fido's off at the big farm. We let him loose with some people who could let him run, and Chad Morris is running free now. He is running free, and Tusk is also running free because I think they kill Tusk every year. They have to have new ones all the time.
It makes for a great cookout at the end of the season.
Yeah, it's great. It's wonderful. If you divide the buyout, the $10 million buyout that Chad Morris gets by the number of SEC wins he has, the number is not definable because you cannot divide by 0. And somehow that just makes having to put the dog down better, I guess. I don't know. It's fantastic.
I really hope that one of these days you have to go up, you have to explain like the death of a pet and do it as eloquently as saying, well, what do you say? Well, loved ones, well, kiddo, Fido's gone to the big farm.
I mean, the reality is I'm going to have to do that. And how do we do it that way?
I think you did exactly like that. I think you just replay a recording of that part of this episode.
Well, what I'll do is I'll have, in one hand I'll have the recording of this episode, in the other hand I'll have I will remember you, and it's going to be just a beautiful moment.
Well, the dog went out for a pack of cigarettes and never came back.
And that's how it is with Chad Morris right now, stepping out for a pack of smokes.
He gone.
He gone. Just remember, everyone, that only with the kind generosity of Arkansas boosters
and Sarah McLachlan
can Arkansas hope to rebuild from this devastating tragedy known as complete institutional ineptitude.
Also known as Chad Morris.
You too can save an SEC school.
I still don't really fully blame him as much, but it was clear he was not ready to step into that.
He was in over his head, but Bert left him with a dumpster on fire.
No, it's absolutely it's 100% on him. SMU instantly got better when he left. Like he was they went from I don't think he beat a Power 5 team while he was at SMU. He has a losing record overall at SMU, if I'm not mistaken. And then within a year and a half of him being gone, they're ranked and playing in like primetime games. I mean, like
he
built I think the SMU program. Was like in complete tatters when he got there, though.
But they've always been in complete tatters. Like they got the death penalty.
Right.
They were coming off a 1-win season when he got there, and he got him up to 7 wins. They loved him so much that when he announced he was leaving, like the school wrote thank you letters, and fans were really sad to see him go type of situation. I think if he had stayed, they would have been in the same. They would have been probably just as good as they are right now. That's my hot take.
I mean, Ben Hicks would be their quarterback. That guy's terrible.
I'm sure he is. Let's talk a little bit about the big matchup from this past weekend. The Louisiana State University Fighting Tigers.
Oh, I thought we were going to talk about South Carolina Lafayette. And Appalachian State.
Yeah. I do want to go on record as being the only person on the podcast, because we did keep up with our predictions, even though we didn't record, being the only person on the podcast that picked Appalachian State.
Oh boy. I'm honestly surprised that there hasn't been a Will Muschamp headline.
Right.
Either from being fired or from him driving a milk truck through the student union.
Be like, I got to shut it down myself. This is it, guys.
This is it.
We should have done better. We should have known better by now. App State doesn't get enough credit, I don't think, for how good they are as a program.
Oh, they've become a legit one of those legit kind of mid majors that always just kind of hang around. They're always good. They lost their head coach from last year who had them, I think, ranked in the top 25. He's at Louisville doing a really good job there, and they just kind of keep rolling right on. I mean, it's
whenever you say that somebody's doing a really good job, I can't tell if it's sarcastic or not. It doesn't matter what tone of voice you use. They
won one game last year under Petrino. or was Petrino 2 years ago?
I think was 2 years ago. I'll double check that though.
I think Satterfield's got him bowl eligible now, and that's just a couple years removed from Petrino just kind of tanking everything.
They're 5-4 right now.
Yeah, so on the cusp of bowl eligibility. I think Satterfield, if he kind of keeps it going, is in line for a major job sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Louisville barely got 2 wins last year.
Yeah,
Real bad. But and how big of a fall off was that? 8-5, instantly dropping to only 2 wins just because Lamar Jackson left.
yeah.
Pretty bad. Yeah.
Possible NFL MVP frontrunner.
Lamar Jackson was decent.
He was all right, I guess.
He was fun.
He was all right, I guess. Man, I loved watching him. I'm still enjoying watching him play now in the pros, but he was another one of those guys that in college was just so much fun. Like you just never knew what he was going to do. I've now mentioned Darren McFadden and Lamar Jackson as being 2 of my favorite. You just never knew what they were going to do college players. I'm gonna put you guys on the spot. Who was one of your favorite college players to watch that you were just kind of like you loved it because you just never knew what was going to happen anytime that they were about to play? Who was somebody that you guys loved?
That's a really good question. I thought Steven Garcia was going to either be just an absolute dumpster fire or just an unbelievable like Heisman caliber moment. And he also just kind of had that swagger of playing kind of drunk every time. So Steven Garcia.
I like that. I'm talking about guys that like I was talking about guys that I loved watching because you were just like, oh, they're just electric. And you were talking about a guy that you loved watching simply because that dude was a wild card.
Well, I was like, you guys make so much fun of me for liking Ole Miss players. Like it's Dexter McCluster, but it's like, oh, well, of course you said an Ole Miss guy. So, like.
I just liked watching his rap videos about not drinking and driving.
It was texting and driving.
Keith.
Oh, texting. Oh, well, equally as terrible.
Jeez, Keith. Jeez.
That's my fault.
Yeah.
It is your fault. It is.
Keith, who you got?
Recusing myself. So like I was trying to think about like offensive guys. But like
They have to be offensive.
right. So my thing is watching Jadeveon Clowney, like when he wasn't taking plays off.
Right.
Like it was honestly just one of the like it was like watching like like a monster movie where like the monster is just unstoppable and it doesn't matter like what you throw at it, it just keeps coming, because he was legitimately like a monster. Like everyone thinks about like his big highlight play in their bowl game, his like I think junior year when he murdered the entire Michigan roster. But like his first 2 years, especially, he was doing that like every other play. And it was like legitimately breathtaking in a horrifying yet beautiful way.
Yeah, he was a different kind of specimen. He just was. The minute that Chandler mentioned Steven Garcia, I started thinking about Jadeveon Clowney as well. And I also thought about Lattimore, who I just forgot Lattimore's first name because all I could think of is Marshawn Lattimore, which is not
Marcus
Lattimore. Yeah.
Marcus, yeah.
Yeah, I always wish that man. I wish his knees could have held up. He was fun to watch.
Yeah, he was my pick until I remembered that Clowney was just like, he to me is like one of those like legit, truly like generational people.
Yes.
Are we all secret South Carolina fans?
That's what I'm discovering.
Turns out.
That's what I'm discovering. Who knew? Wow. Who knew?
That's really funny. Out of all the teams that we had to pick from, we picked from one of the most historically boring programs ever.
Yep. This is it. All right, let's
amazing what Spurrier does for you.
Yep. Let's talk just a little bit about the Louisiana State University Fighting Tigers and Alabama. That was the big matchup, obviously, over the weekend. And it, for the first time in SEC history, in the first time in modern SEC history, in the modern era, the game actually lived up to billing from an entertainment standpoint. I'm sure it drove every single. It just means more. This is where real defenses live. Type of crotchety SEC fan. Crazy to watch it, but it was a crazy good game. Did we learn anything about these teams from this particular game that you really want to point out here? Chandler, I'll start with you. But is there anything that you looked at in that matchup and you felt like you learned about these two teams?
Learned, not necessarily, but why, other than the fact that they're Alabama, why am I supposed to be so convinced that Alabama's so good? Like what's their signature win? Is it Texas A&M?
I guess so.
LSU at this point,
how can you disrespect Duke like that? I don't understand.
They've played 3 different teams at the time who were ranked top 10 and beat all of them. Yep. Relatively easily. And Alabama hasn't played. I know it's a trope that we always go with, but Bama ain't played nobody, Paul. I guess we'll find out, but some of the luster has been knocked off of Auburn.
Yep.
And Mississippi State, like, I don't know, like, I can't see that being a super competitive game. So, I don't know. I don't know why we're supposed to think Alabama's so good and that Alabama's just automatically like, oh, they're fine. They're going to be in the playoff anyway. It's all, Alabama's a good, not great team. And I don't know that I don't know that we're learning that. I think that people kind of were already starting to think it, but.
Well, I know we've talked a lot about like their defensive woes or, missing players due to injury or leaving early and all of that sort of stuff. But I mean, what's different about this Alabama team, you think, even beyond that is making them so, honestly, underwhelming a lot of time?
I think that the change in offensive scheme for them, like whenever you have these offenses that are running 80, 90, 100 plays a game and it's just big play after big play, defenses get gassed. And when they're playing the kind of slow it down, grind it out, ball control, occasional big passing play kind of offense, their defense stays rested. And they're better in those bigger spots. But I think that what we're starting to see is the impact that LSU, Clemson, Georgia, several of these bigger, especially bigger Southeastern programs, finally stepping it up and recruiting and they're winning some recruiting battles with Alabama, and so it's not that any of these teams starting lineups are really affected by that. It's that the depth is starting to be affected by that. Where, remember Dylan Moses went down before the season started, and in previous years, Alabama would have trotted out a 5-star who was ready to go. This year, that 5-star is probably on LSU or Clemson's roster, getting a lot of playing time, or Georgia or wherever. So I think you're starting to see some of that take, and some of the, in a weird way, some of the parity as the rich get richer. Some of the parity is starting to play out a little bit. So some of those injuries do end up being a little bit more devastating than they have been in the past.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's the shine a little bit of playing for Alabama is wearing off, I think, with some recruits, and it's starting to get a little bit, because recruits, they're high school kids. Like they're going to look for whatever is kind of the sexiest program to go to at the time, right? Like there's a reason Oregon was able to build an entire program off of jerseys, because it suddenly became really cool to have that Nike money, those Nike jerseys, and roll with that. And that, they had success that way. And then the moment that was kind of like, well, everyone's doing it now, is when Oregon has kind of tailed off a bit as a program, right? And I think right now we're starting to see Alabama does not come across as the almighty invincible team anymore, because Clemson's proven that they're not a couple of times. And so Clemson's looking more attractive, and LSU's starting to look more fun because they're running that, modern NFL offense with Joe Brady running things, that sort of stuff. Makes them really attractive as well to recruit. So yeah, I think those are great points.
What I hear Chandler saying is that socialism works in college football.
Yes, noted socialist.
Yep.
And I think, to your point, Joseph, even a little bit more simple than that is that dudes just want to play.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of past the point where I think a lot of guys are not everybody, obviously, but a lot of guys are kind of past the point where they want to go and redshirt and then sit on the bench for 2 years and then have 1 year and then go, have one great year and then go to the NFL. Like, I think guys want to actually get out there and play, and more and more places are providing those opportunities.
Yeah.
And so again, it's not affecting starting lineups, but it is starting to affect the depth of these programs.
I wonder, even if you go back to the whole like Jalen Hurts being benched in favor of Tua in the national championship game thing, I wonder if that has an effect on players that are incoming players watching that, and they're just kind of like, I mean, yeah, it paid off for him, but was that the right thing to do from a loyalty standpoint? Like, I wonder if that had any sort of impact. Might not have, but it's fun to speculate, I guess.
Yeah.
Keith, what did you feel like when you look at that game? Do you feel like you learned anything new? Do you feel like the Joe Burrow hype in particular has been fully backed up, fully validated?
I mean, yeah, but that was also, I think, fully validated weeks ago. Like,
okay,
and I think we even talked about it on here that like we weren't even sure, because of Alabama's defensive injuries and such, that like Alabama would be able to really slow them down. It would be more of a, can Alabama outscore them? And that's kind of the game we got. Like, that 9-6 game back in 2011, like, thank God that's gone, because now we have 90 total points being scored between two historically defensive powerhouses. Like, and it's super fun. Like, there was over 800 yards of combined passing. Both teams had a 100-yard rusher. Like,
yep,
it was a lot of fun. And LSU jumped out to a huge lead, and then you saw Bama kind of claw their way back into it. Like, it was a really, really, really fun game. I think if we learned anything, it's basically it's LSU's world, and maybe the only team that can come close to stopping them is like Ohio State.
An LSU Ohio State national championship game is going to be absolutely incredible.
Bonkers.
If that's what we get, it's going to be awesome.
If both teams can stay like healthy enough in their like key spots, like, it's going to be one of the most fun national championship games ever.
Be so good. I mean, I
want it to happen.
Yeah, I don't care how bad Maryland might be as a program. That's a Division I program that a team just hung 70-something points on.
But they're doing that every week.
Yeah, it's just it's just incredible. So yeah, that would be great. I think that would be great to see. Keith, going back to that just real quick, do you think we're talking about the Joe Burrow hype and everything. Do you think this type of performance against, on the biggest stage of the season so far in Tuscaloosa, being able to do what he did, to have the poise that he had? I mean, how many times was there like someone in his face and he just kind of seemed unfazed by it, type of thing,
Yeah.
I was just going to say, yeah, with all of that in mind, I mean, what do you think this is something that has propelled him to like number one in the draft type of status?
That's that's a little more difficult to assess, I think, because like, you know, like he was good last year. He wasn't this last year.
No.
and like this coincided with the hiring of a new OC who brought in a whole new system and like changed everything. So
I think technically Brady's not like technically the OC. Like he's
like the passing court. Yeah, like he's like the offensive passing coordinator or something. It's weird.
He obviously is running the changes though. He's the one who implemented this stuff.
Yeah, like
Steve Ensminger still bears the offensive coordinator title, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Right. Well, it's weird. Like when you look at their actual like title listings, there's an offensive coordinator, and then Brady he's literally listed as like the passing offensive coordinator. Like it's really bizarre. But it works somehow. But like maybe the thing that kind of smooths out what the projection for like Joe Burrow is going to be is that this new offense is a pro style offense. And so what he's running now,
the modern pro,
right? So like what he's running now is what he's going to be running in the NFL, and he has shown that he is quick to grasp it and runs it extremely efficiently.
Here's the bigger question, I think, is has Joe Brady secured his place as an NFL head coach as soon as next season? You know, because all these NFL teams are doing. I mean, since Sean McVay, everybody's going younger, everybody's going offensive minded, all this kind of stuff, and it's like, okay, well, you did this with a guy that the year before was kind of an afterthought. So surely this guy can come in and work wonders with anybody.
That is a great question. That is a very good question. I do wonder if people are going to look at his resume and decide that he's got enough.
I mean, look at like everybody derided the Cliff Kingsbury hire, and it's sort of working. They're playing like they've got a rookie quarterback because, spoiler alert, they do. But they've been way more competitive than I think a lot of people really thought they were going to be.
I don't know. I don't know if I fully agree. I haven't necessarily been terribly impressed with the Cardinals myself, but I guess you're right. They have been competitive. They have been fairly competitive.
I'm not saying that they're good, but I mean, again, they're being quarterbacked by a rookie. And it's a rookie. It's a first year head coach. There's a whole bunch of things stacked up, and it's not a good roster. They've had several bad years in a row. And it's sort of like you can see them getting better. You can see them improving. So I wonder if that's going to be something that's going to bode very well for Brady as much as it does for Burrow. I think Burrow has already solidified himself as the number one pick over Tua because Brady's got all like NFL people. They love measurables. Brady's Burrow's the 6'4", 220-pound guy.
Yeah.
He's got the strong.
Who's like mobile also.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He doesn't freelance as much as Tua. He doesn't get hurt as much as Tua. So he's got a lot more stuff, I think, going for him from the perspective of what NFL people typically seem to be looking for.
Plus, perfect child Joe Burrow. Like he's your like Alabama game managing quarterback because he's super efficient, who also has like game breaking ability.
Yeah.
Like he's got the best of both worlds.
Right. 100%.
Leading the conference or leading the nation in completion percentage. Also,
right.
Like can throw a deep ball. Yeah.
Yeah. Like potentially breaking the record for like your long passing percentage. But like what really impressed me about Joe Burrow is that like this isn't just one game. They've played now at the time 4 top 10 teams, beaten all of them. While there's been some sort of like adversity, like that Texas game was wild. Like the Florida LSU score looks lopsided, but like they went back and forth there for a long time. And it was really like a couple of turnovers at the very end of the game where LSU pulled away. They played a really like tough game against Auburn, found a way to win. And then this game, like they're in Tuscaloosa, famously difficult place to play. and they had some adversity in the first quarter, and then jumped out to a huge 20-point lead. And then as Bama starts, clawing their way back into it, like he didn't break, he didn't fizzle out. He found a way to get his team a win, and that's like that to me is like he doesn't really have like your Heisman moment. His Heisman moment is literally the entire season.
He's definitely got cojones in terms of being able to step up in the big moments. Here's another question then, piggybacking off of that real quick. Let's just put into consideration as well the fact that LSU's defense has not been great this year, and then also is now, losing players like Michael Divinity, who's left the program, that sort of stuff happening. Is this a good enough team to actually win it all this year, you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you've got an offense that's that good, and you've got a defense that even if it is a little shaky in some spots, they've got some guys that can really rush the passer. They've got some people that can really do some different things that you need to do. Then yeah, it's definitely a team that can win it all.
You think so, Keith?
Yeah, I think they're good enough. They just have the misfortune of being this good at the same time as Ohio State, who is equally as prolific.
Mm-hmm. All right. I mean, it seems like as of now, we're all kind of feeling like this. We're looking at eventual SEC champion and playoff. What do you call it when somebody makes the playoffs? Do you call them a playoff member? We'll say that. They're members of the playoff.
Yes.
In the Louisiana State University Fighting Tigers.
Like, all this being said, they're going to lose to Texas A&M for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, probably. It does need to be said also before we move on to our predictions and everything that let's not forget about how last year, I mean, you mentioned Joe Burrow was okay, but like at the beginning of last year, we were kind of cracking jokes about how mediocre at best he was,
Right. Greatest quarterback ever, Joe Burrow.
Yeah. The man has shown constant improvement since he got to LSU all the way until now. And that in and of itself deserves a little bit more credit.
Yeah.
He's obviously putting in the work.
Well, and Coach O deserves a lot of credit because Coach O finally
Chandler giving Coach O credit.
I know, right? But he finally I mean, the big knock on him was always that he had to micromanage everything. He didn't trust his assistants. There's all this kind of stuff, and so he turns the offense loose because that like they said it over and over again that in the offseason that they finally have opened the offense up. They've given the offensive coordinator the reins. They're letting Burrow do what he wants. And it was like, okay, sure, like I'll believe it when I see it. And then they do it a couple weeks, and you're like, oh, they actually are doing it. And that's, I mean, that's a credit to him, to Coach O, for understanding like meddling and everything is not something I'm good at. So we'll just let them coach, and we'll have fun, and I'll go recruit, and it'll be awesome. And they kind of become these lovable, like, as weird as it is to say that LSU are like they're not underdogs, but they're kind of the lovable, like, they just have a lot of fun. They're catchy. It's like, yeah, you just kind of find yourself pulling for them. I don't. It's weird.
It is weird. I mean, it's probably the first time I could ever think of that I was, enjoying, like, kind of pulling for LSU.
Right.
There's so many neutral fans really were on their side when it came to kind of finally actually having a real legitimate contender against what has seemed like the untouchable Alabama for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama would, go run, look kind of invincible until they got out of the conference and go up against someone like a Clemson. And now finally there's someone in the conference itself to actually give them a challenge. And it's fun to see that happen again, even if it is just another traditional power in LSU and not like a newcomer who would actually be more fun to root for realsies. But anyway.
Yeah, and like what's really fun, I guess, is that if LSU makes it to Atlanta, and I think they're basically almost guaranteed to get in.
They have to lose. They have to lose to both Ole Miss and Texas A&M.
Right. But they're also going to play another potentially top 5 school in Georgia.
Mhm.
So that's 5 top 10 teams that they will have played on their way to the college football playoffs, which is pretty crazy.
If they make it to the championship but lose to Georgia or Florida, I'm sorry, whichever one makes it, because that one's technically not locked up either.
Right.
But let's just say that it is Georgia, like it looks like. If they make it that far and then do lose, surely they've done enough to still have earned a spot, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not be crazy here. This is a quote unquote playoff, but this is still college football. We pretty much knew who the 4 teams were 3 weeks ago.
Right.
The rest of the season's just a formality.
Minnesota.
Yeah, let's go Golden Gophers.
Wait, you mean to tell me that Clemson's not really actually number 5?
It's shocking. It's shocking, I know.
I don't know if I believe that.
It's shocking. I'm still pulling for UCF to win it all again.
Pulling for chaos, baby. Pulling for chaos.
Always.
3-time national champion.
All right. On that note, it is time for us, I believe, to move on with our lives and get to the prediction section of ROTC. Let's see. I'm pulling up the list right here. I believe last week, Chandler and I ended up being tied for total correct picks with Keith only 2 spots behind us. Chandler and I both have 76 correct picks over the course of the season. Keith with 74. However, last week, both of you got 1 prediction more than I did. So you technically did better than me last week, but I'm still up at the top of the heap. All right.
Top of the heap.
So let's go ahead and jump into these here predictions. As always, we will predict the SEC slate. We will predict Florida State. We'll predict one random matchup throughout the sporting landscape. This one being a pretty big-time rivalry that may or may not be an interesting game at all. My money is on it not being an interesting game.
Not even a little.
No. So let's start things off with the the poor Mississippi teams have the 2 biggest spreads going against them this weekend. Let's start it off. Yep. Let's start it off with an angry Alabama going to Starkville to I was about to say to defeat the Mississippi State Bulldogs.
Well,
they're gonna
inaccurate.
Yeah, they're gonna play against them. I didn't mean to actually talk that definitively, but yeah. Keith, what's the spread on that?
Alabama is a 19.5 point favorite.
Good night.
So I get the feeling we're all thinking this is an Alabama victory. Any disagreements here, guys?
Seems that way.
Yeah, no.
Anyone think that they anyone disagree with the spread at all?
No.
Nope.
Yeah, I can't. No.
Really entertaining show we got today, guys. But,
yeah. I mean, MSU could probably score some points against them, but
yeah,
I just also feel like Alabama coming off a loss is going to be really angry, and you just never want to be the team that goes against them right after that, you know?
Yeah, because they have to make a statement for the college football playoff pollsters.
Right, exactly, to justify the fact that they're already in.
Yep.
All right, the other big spread on the weekend, as I mentioned earlier, is the Louisiana State University Fighting Tigers traveling to Oxford to take on the Ole Miss Rebels.
Trap game.
What's the spread, Keith?
LSU is a 20.5 point favorite.
Do we feel like this is another unanimous LSU pick?
Yeah, LSU covers.
I do disagree with the spread, though, because the spread should be like 40.
Double it.
20 whatever is just 45.
Not enough. Yeah.
I do wonder, like same as Alabama will probably try to really put it on against Mississippi State because they're like frustrated off a loss. I do wonder if LSU will not really like fully trap game this matchup, but I wonder if they're going to like go through the motions a little bit.
If it was anybody but Ole Miss, I think LSU might. But I think that Coach O does kind of like
that's true.
Harbor that animosity more than people
Okay.
want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, might have Death Star up.
Yeah, no, that you're absolutely that's 100% a storyline I overlooked right then. Yeah,
Oh,
no,
man.
it's not wholly dissimilar to whenever Kermit Davis is going to play Mississippi State. Like like that game is just going to have special meaning to that coach, and the players are going to feel that, and they're just I don't. It doesn't feel like the kind of game that LSU lets sneak up on them because of that tie.
Yeah, man. Oxford is Alderaan, and LSU is the first Death Star. 100%.
I'm actually pulling for it because maybe if we lose the next 2 games by at least 4 touchdowns, somebody will realize it's not working. But I doubt it.
Nah. Where's the fun in that? All right.
Nowhere.
Let's see. What's the next one up? I think the next one up should be South Carolina and Texas A&M. Scarolina and Jordan Ta'amu going up against each other here. Keith, the spread.
Texas A&M is a 10-point favorite.
All right. Chandler, we're getting into more interesting predictions here. Who you think?
I don't know if interesting is a word I would use.
Well, the spread's the spread's closer than 20 points. So,
and they're both bad teams. So,
I think A&M is more of an okay team, and South Carolina's a bad team. And give me the okay team.
Like the more and more we get towards like the end of the season, it's just beyond my ability to comprehend how South Carolina beat Georgia.
Because Georgia's not that good.
Yeah, but have you seen South Carolina play football the last 3 weeks?
Yeah, but I mean, still.
I mean, last week doesn't count. South Carolina went up against one of the best defenses in the country last week.
I don't even know who they played last week.
Appalachian State. Appalachian
right.
State is one of the best defenses in the country.
Here's what I do think is setting up for, though. We're finally going to get what we've always wanted. And
Appalachian State in the SEC.
Yes. Or Mike Leach in the SEC at South Carolina.
Man. Anywhere he goes is totally fine with me.
I agree.
Yep. New second favorite team, right?
Yep. I'm also going to go Jordan Ta'amu.
All right. I missed it.
It's future XFL quarterback Jordan Ta'amu.
Yeah. Did Chandler actually say A&M? I know he was giving them credit, but I didn't really know if that was the prediction or not.
Yes. I was picking A&M.
Did you guys see the XFL tweet like last weekend, I think, where they said that they're like, well, we thought about making fun of Miami, but several of their players are going to be playing for us in a couple of months anyway.
That's pretty good.
It was good.
That's pretty good.
That's the content that I'm here for.
Yep. I'm also going to go with A&M, but I think the deciding factor in this is that it's being played at A&M more than anything else.
Yep. And Will Muschamp has to leave his milk truck at home.
Yep. I think these are two mediocre at best teams. So, all right, here's a game that doesn't have a spread set on it. Florida and Missouri.
For some reason.
I guess. Well, probably still question marks about Kelly Bryant, whether or not he'll be there. So,
question.
No spread right there, but this could have the makings of an interesting game if Bryant's there. Could have the makings of an incredibly boring game if Bryant's not there. So with no spread, Chandler, who are you going to pick?
I don't think it matters if Kelly Bryant is there or not. Missouri is the game at Florida?
No, it's in Missouri.
Oh. Wait, what?
No, yeah, it is in Missouri.
Okay, I think that'll keep it closer because Missouri does play better at home, but Florida is going to beat them.
Keith?
Yep, going Gators. Can't run the ball, but they're going to find a way to beat them.
Yeah, it probably won't matter much against this Missouri team whether they can run or not.
They've scored 7 points in the last 2 games.
That's
exactly. It's pretty bad, and you could tell at this point that Missouri's
They've
motivation,
up. Yep.
is gone. They have switched from let's try to buck the system type of mentality to okay, never mind. This whole season was a complete defeat for us. Yay, type of mentality. So I got to go Florida as well. The next one up, let's go with Kentucky and Vanderbilt, which oddly enough has a very interesting spread to it.
Yeah, Kentucky's an 8.5-point favorite in Nashville, in the weirdest stadium ever.
It's such a weird stadium. So weirdly close in a weird stadium, but the question here is between a bad team in Vanderbilt and a team that seems to consistently get worse in Kentucky. Gosh. Chandler, who you picking?
I've seen Vanderbilt play too many times. I can't get that out of my head. It's like those things that you see, and then when you close your eyes at night and you have nightmares about it, and you just can't get past it. Like that's what watching them play is like.
Right.
So Kentucky.
Keith, how about you?
Same. For all the same reasons and for all the same statements. Like Vandy's, man, they in the first half against Florida, they had 18 yards. Total offense.
Is that bad?
Yeah. Can we run the numbers, please?
Yeah, let me get the interns to run the numbers.
Yeah. I don't know what that one's like. So I'll go ahead and make my prediction, and then you get back to me after I make my prediction. Mine is obviously Kentucky, because on principle, I cannot pick Vanderbilt.
Yeah, they ran the numbers, and that is in fact bad.
Okay, thank you to the interns.
I've just let them know that their salaries have been tripled.
Yes. They're all getting A's in this class, boys. All right. Big time matchup on the weekend, though, is quote unquote big time. Georgia and Auburn. It's got
it's at Auburn. Ugh.
It's got big billing on account of the fact that it has to be hyped up. It is a historical rivalry. But of course, both of these teams have looked shaky and beatable at times. So who even knows what might happen with this nonsense? Keith, what's the spread?
Yeah, and the spread is 2.5 in Georgia's favor. So basically a push 'em game.
Yep. All right, Chandler, start the bidding off with your prediction.
I think this is going to be the game where the Gus bus gets rolling, and the Gus bus starts rolling, and the Gus bus just continues to roll until it parks in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Because this is going to be the game that is going to get him out of Auburn to Fayetteville.
There it is.
You heard it first.
Yep. Chandler's predicting a huge Auburn victory that leads to Arkansas overpaying for the services of Gus Malzahn.
Yes, highly likely.
Yeah.
No, Georgia's going to win.
Keith?
Bo Nix is going to be a good quarterback, but Bo Nix is a terrible quarterback right now.
Yeah, he sucks. He should have his scholarship taken away.
Not what I said.
Oh, damn. Touchdown Jesus sets this one out. Georgia wins.
What does Notre Dame have to do with any of this?
It's Catholic Jesus versus Protestant Jesus, man. Come on.
I meant to say Auburn Jesus. I have no idea why I said touchdown Jesus.
I'm just so confused by all of this now.
Too many Jesus.
It's oh god. Okay. Whatever. I'm gonna pick Auburn to win for no reason whatsoever. There we go.
You misspelled Auburn.
Oh, you're so right. I'm sorry.
What?
All right, let's move on. Alabama A&M and Florida State. Could this be the matchup Florida State has been asking for all along against a bad. What FCS Division II? I don't know where Alabama A&M actually fits.
I don't know. Are they in the MAC?
No,
Anyway.
Alabama A&M, I believe, is in the SWAC.
The SWAC.
Mhm.
There's no spread
Mhm.
because terrible
it's not
team. Yeah.
It's not at FBS. I don't know. They
Yeah.
might not be terrible. They're just not. They're just not Division One or whatever. So, is this the first time we all unanimously picked Florida State?
Yeah.
Sure.
My apologies to Pastor L, but yeah.
Yep. Proud Alabama A&M graduate, my pastor Albert McGowan. All right, the final matchup of the weekend that we're going to predict here, the random, quote unquote, random matchup, is the big time rivalry between
Rivalry.
Michigan State and Michigan. It's being held at the Big House. That's what they call it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just laughing again at your spelling of Auburn. It'll never not make me laugh.
A boober.
Yes. Yeah, for record, I always spell it Abubrn because for years ago, I traveled to the Plains to watch a game at Auburn. It's one of the few SEC stadiums I've been to. And of course, they have the end of their little fight song. It ends with them spelling out
AUBURN.
And for whatever reason, somebody we were with at the time spelled it in the song by singing out ABUBRN. And it just stuck with me. So I will always spell it as a Boobern instead of Auburn.
Oh, it's so good.
Just because of that. So there we go. All right, Michigan State. The spread on this one, please, Sir Keith.
The Fighting Shea Pattersons are a 14-point favorite.
Shea.
Chandler's favorite quarterback of all time.
Yeah.
Favorite in the world.
Who you got in this one? Chandler.
I do think that Michigan and Jim Harbaugh and Shea Patterson have figured some things out. And it is a good thing that they did because it's going to give them just enough hope until Ohio State thrashes them again.
Gosh,
And
I'm so looking forward to that beatdown.
yeah, but this week will not be. Well, it will be a beatdown. It just will be a beatdown in favor of the victors. So hail to the victors, and Michigan's going to win. That was a lot of words to say nothing.
The Victor's March is really cool to hear in person, like because it carries so much history with it and everything.
Oh, it's one of the best fight songs.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's really cool. That's one of the cool things. Like if you ever get a chance to go to Auburn, like the eagle swooping in over the stadium is a really cool experience as well. Just to kind of hear everyone doing the whole War Eagle thing all in unison. It's pretty sweet, even if you're not an Auburn fan. It's cool to see some of those cool traditions out there. Anyway,
it's right up there with the party tents in the stadium at Ole Miss.
Right, exactly. The trailer park grove that they set up.
The Fire Festival leftovers.
Yes. And when the Native American man comes out and sets Florida State's field on fire.
Mm-hmm.
That is pretty cool though.
Yeah, and the greatest tradition of all, when the Sooner Schooner tips over and kills everyone on board.
And then they always lose the next week.
Always. Yep, it is tradition. Okay. Keith,
listening to them call the Sooner Schooner like tipping over, it was just you could insert like any like wrestling announcement where like Randy Orton's about to RKO somebody out of nowhere. It's just like, oh no, oh god, no.
Just pictured.
And then a
JR
Michael Bay
the whole
explosion
time.
happens. Yeah.
Yeah. Just picture JR.
I mean, JR is a huge Oklahoma fan, so
anyway, yeah. Sorry, Sparty. Ain't happening. Michigan.
Yeah.
Michigan.
Forget if Michigan's been good or bad this year. Michigan State has been bad this year.
Very bad.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I see no reason why this would even necessarily be a 14-point victory. Sometimes in years past, Michigan State's had a little bit of magic against Michigan. But I just don't see that happening this time around. So,
Man, Michigan State has had the distinct displeasure of 3 of their last 4 games were Ohio State, Wisconsin, and Penn State, like
yep.
number 4, number 8, and number 6 at the time of playing.
Yep.
Yikes.
Not great.
Good job, guys.
Oops.
Yep. And now they have to, go up against number still technically ranked in Michigan. So good on them. All right. Well, that is going to wrap things up here on this episode of Running Out the Clock. If you sat through this, good for you. Good for
Thank you.
Just know that we all eagerly await the day that this football season is finally mercy killed.
Yep. I look forward to my annual tradition of not watching the postseason because I've moved on to other things.
Yeah. But if there is any chance that Ohio State and LSU play each other, I'm all in.
Yeah, I know that.
It might be the first national championship game that I'll watch in when was the last one that I watched?
Like 8 years when Cam played? Or 7 years? 6
when
years
was
ago,
the
something
Cam
like that?
Newton year?
Was he 13? 12?
I don't even remember.
Whenever the Cam Newton year was, that was the
I
year
think
that
it
I
was
stopped
12.
watching.
Yeah, I think it was
I think it
2012.
was 12. So yeah, it's been about 7 years since I've watched one. So this could be it for me. All right. That's going to do it here for Mr. Crambles Johnson, for Keith Harkins, for our compatriots Gray Barnes and Roe Hunter back at home. I'm your friend Joseph Craven. Thank you for listening to this episode of Running Out the Clock. Stay tuned. The season premiere of God Friended Me is next.